talking about the sports you do and don't know, both within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no, stuff and things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
Hi, good morning. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. And, yeah, look, man, obviously we all watched the same game. We know what happened. We were there. We got a lot to do in the program today. That's why we're starting a couple minutes early. The great Juan Dixon's going to join us a little bit later on. He's going to coach Maryland's team in the basketball tournament this summer, Team Shell Shock. Baltimore native DeJuan Summers is going to join us before the Big Three comes to CFG Bank Arena on Sunday. Loyola legend Adam Poitras, now with the Whipsnakes, is going to join us before the PLL hits Baltimore this weekend. And in just a couple minutes, John Kuhn, former Packers fullback, now their radio analyst. He's going to join us as well to talk about Jaire Alexander. So we got a lot to do on the show, but we don't have a man of the match. And that's, of course, because...
Is there any particular reason?
Yeah, well... I will compare this to what I said after they lost the 2 out of 3 in Sacramento. The truth is, this type of stuff does happen. Like, you can say this is baseball. It doesn't happen much. It don't happen frequently. It was a lesson for my son who, when he saw them go up 8-0, he was like, they're winning tonight. This is sports. This is baseball. Particularly baseball because there's no time construct, right? Like, you can score as many runs as you want to score in an inning. I don't know how many times a team has blown an 8-run lead in 3 innings. That's all it took. 3, and it was gone. But that's the way it works, right? Like, you can score 8 runs in an inning, so you can certainly give up 8 runs just as quickly. Like, you want me to shout from the rooftops and say it's unacceptable? Well, yeah, it's unacceptable. But, like, what do you want me to do with that? Like, do you fire someone because of that? That's... At some point, you're going to give up. You're going to lose. What was the score of the Red Sox game?
The one that they lost by a billion?
By a billion.
19-5.
Right? Is this worse?
That Reds game they lost 24-2.
You know, like I don't know what you want me to say here. It sucks, man. It sucks. There's a small part of me that felt like when you keep pushing away veterans, and look, Anthony Santander has not been good. I kept thinking, like, he's just going to wake up any moment now and he'll be Anthony Santander. He hasn't been good in Toronto. But, like, when you constantly push away veterans, there's that part of me that wonders, like, hey, is that the group of guys that, like, puts their foot down and says, this isn't going to happen to us? But to be fair, like, Ryan O'Hearn was playing, Cedric Mullins was playing. It's not like they don't have those types of guys on the team. Santander was probably the leader of that group. I don't know. The bigger story is they just don't, their pitching's not very good. And it's why when everybody wants to get excited, I keep coming back to, I don't think this is a playoff team. I don't think they have enough pitching. And the disappointing part about last night is some of the guys that have been part of the solution were obviously part of the problem. Sir Anthony Dominguez has been really good of late. Wasn't last night. Yanier Cano is your second highest leverage reliever. And maybe they needed to turn to Brian Baker a little bit earlier. I get it. He was the guy that pitched the night before, so I understand why you didn't want to, but, like, in hindsight. Scott Bluette had actually been decent. I don't know, man. I don't want to be utterly dismissive of it. I don't want to pretend like it didn't happen. I don't want to say, hey, you guys are freaking out too much. That sucks. We all watched it. It sucks. But it is baseball, and it is one game, and they do have the opportunity to play another game tonight and show that it was just one game and that it has nothing to do with what they're going to do moving forward. It's a reminder to me of why I believe this is a limited team. It's so weird to me that as disappointed as I am in the pitching, and that I'm complaining about a night where they scored 8 runs. They did. But it was kind of unbelievable watching them after they scored 8 runs produce nothing.
They have to be dynamic as an offense.
Nothing.
We're not that at all.
It's not even like they were, it was bad luck and they were nothing. I mean, you could say Jackson Holiday hit the ball hard a few times and had nothing to show for it, but overall, zip. Lethargic, pop-ups, just watching it the rest of the way. And again, that's a difficult thing because they did score 8 runs, and scoring 8 runs should be enough to win a baseball game. I do agree with that. It sucks. It sucks beyond sucks. But I don't know what else to say. It just sucks, man. And if you want to fire somebody, scream fire. I want to fire.
Go ahead.
Maybe they fire Brandon Hyde again. I don't know. It's a game. It's one baseball game in 162. It's a very weird feeling because we all watched it and we all saw it, but yet it's still, I can't make more of it than what it was. Trevor Rogers' part. Brian Roberts, you could hear it in his voice, from the moment, as they were scoring 8 runs. It's like, boy, this is taking a little while. And then, Drew French, when they put him on the broadcast right afterwards, and you could see he was uneasy from the first moment. And again, that can't be it can't be an excuse. It can't be, it's just too long to wait. You've got to have, Drew brought up, here's what we do to try to keep guys loose because we want it to be a good thing that a team is scoring 8 runs. In hindsight, should they have said, even if Trevor Rogers is kind of getting his butt kicked a little bit, what we can't do is have to get 6 innings out of our bullpen tonight? We got an 8-run lead. We're going to have to let Trevor Rogers give 6 of them back before we pull him? Maybe? Certainly Trevor Rogers did not look good. He did not look like he had it. And maybe if you're thinking macro versus micro, you wanted to get him out while he still had a chance to not feel like he was what cost them the game. I don't know. Trevor Rogers was a major league pitcher for a long time. If you still have to put kid gloves on for him, you got a bigger problem. And the Rays are really good. They're really good, man. It's part of it. There's no doubt. We know that. I wish I could make this all okay. I wish I could say something that would make you feel differently. But I can certainly not do that. It sucks.
They went 3 for 5 with runners in scoring position.
Thank you.
So
all in the same inning.
After the second inning.
All in the exact same inning. It was a hell of an inning. Remember that inning?
Yeah.
Remember how much fun that was? Ramon Laureano hitting a home run. Cedric Mullins hitting a home run. It's a good time.
Colton Cowser hit a home run. Yeah.
Jordan Westberg with this funky slide. You're like, yeah. And then how stupid we all felt when it was 8-8 and they had the Laureano's throw.
Right, yeah.
And
even
then Gary Sanchez on the pitch out. And you're like, all right, well, now the momentum is turned. Sure, it looked hairy there for a minute, but now everything's Everything's back on the side of the birds. How stupid we are. You got anything else? I really am. I'm struggling with this one.
No. It's just. I mean, does this change any? It doesn't really change anything.
It really, and that's the part that, like, you want to come in here and be hellfire and brimstone. You want to scream and lose your mind and say this is unacceptable and heads have to. But it's a baseball game. We all watched it. Like, it's more difficult because we watched it. Like, we're angry because we spent our time with it. Really. Like, truly, completely, we're angry because we spent time with that, and this is what we have to show for it. But what does it mean, big picture? It was a baseball game. Do you worry about whether that snowballs and they're dejected and they got to go back out in the 1,000,000-degree heat tonight and they're just...
Well, that's the crazy thing is that if they do somehow find a way to win tonight...
Yeah, then it's sort of like it never happened, right? But you got to go do that. And if it goes the other way and if they melt in the heat tonight and they lose, then this thing could... Whatever positive momentum they had that we wanted to believe in could be gone within days. It's as significant as whatever happens moving forward. Ugh, just gross. All right, we're not moving on like forever. It's not like we're never going to talk about the Orioles again. But there are other things to discuss, and so we're going to do some of that this morning. Of course, there is a new Baltimore Raven. We have been talking about the possibility of that dating back to last week when he was released by the Packers and obviously his relationship with Lamar Jackson. And just a day after Lamar Jackson said, go get him, Eric DeCosta said, okay, cool. And Jaire Alexander is now a Baltimore Raven. Joining us now here on GCR, he is, of course, part of the Packers broadcast team. Former Packers fullback, the great John Kuhn, with us here on GCR. John, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking some time for us this morning.
Absolutely. No problem, guys. Glad to join.
John, I had the opportunity to chat with Amon Green last week, and we were wondering if this was a possibility. And Amon was raving about what a fit Jaire Alexander would be uniquely in Baltimore. And I'm in this weird place where I know what a football player he can be, but I also know that he hasn't been on the field a whole heck of a lot, and there's a reason why, obviously, he was no longer going to be on the team in Green Bay. What is Jaire Alexander at this point in 2025? Where is he between the guy that was one of the best defensive players in football and the guy that has barely played?
Well, he's both of those. Quite frankly, he's a guy that the last 2 seasons that he's played 15 games, he's made All-Pro in the NFL. Unfortunately, those were 3 and 5 seasons ago, and it's been injuries. And as Brian Gutekunst said, the general manager for the Green Bay Packers, this simply came down to Ja wasn't on the field to warrant the contract that he wanted. And, you know, it's come out recently, Ja's dad has been on social media talking about Jaire was going to take a pay cut to stay with the Packers. However, that pay cut wasn't what the Packers thought it should have been and ultimately ended in the release. There was a lot of speculation from the end of last football season that this was ultimately going to be the case here in Green Bay, that Jaire Alexander would be released from the football team. The Packers obviously tried to collect some assets in trade pieces, but teams know we've heard this rumor too, so we're going to wait this one out. I think it was a very good play by the Baltimore Ravens. Not a whole lot of risk there at the cornerback position. Talk about $4 million, a couple million in bonuses or incentive-based money as well. And he's a guy that, you know, sometimes when you reach the age of 28 and your first team, you played out your time at that team, sometimes a change of location can really revitalize your career. There should be a lot of good football left in Jaire Alexander.
It does sound it's a risk worth taking, and I guess part of that too is also like this probably won't be make or break for the Ravens as well, who have some depth of position. When he has been on the field the last couple of years, John, like in those 7 games that he's played, has he still looked like the Jaire Alexander that to the point really was one of the best players in football?
I think so. And again, we go back to he's generally the 1A corner in Green Bay, and he has been since the day he arrived in 2018. He was the 1A corner from the day he showed up off the plane, off the buses, which means he gets matched up against the best wide receivers in the NFL week in and week out. Take week 1 last year, for example, down in Brazil. Jaire Alexander gets beat early in the second half for a long touchdown by A.J. Brown. Just looks like a simple slant pattern. A.J. Brown's a phenomenal athlete, a specimen. We know what kind of wide receiver he is. Later in the game, he sloughs off in the zone and breaks off his man, makes an interception in the red zone that saves 7 points. So a little bit of give, a little bit of take. He also had a pick 6 a little bit later before at the early stages of the season. So he was still a guy that was making some really big pivotal plays for a Packers secondary that were ball hawks last year, and he was a part of that reason early on.
He is John Kuhn. He's with us here on GCR. We're talking about new Ravens cornerback Jaire Alexander. John, I wonder, there was some word about perhaps him being a bit mercurial during his time in Green Bay, and obviously I'm sure the injuries had something to do with that. Is any of that stuff that would concern you at all as he arrives in Baltimore?
Well, I mean, we're talking about, again, a cornerback 1. You show me cornerback 1s around the league that aren't a little bit different, right? And they kind of have to be. And I'm going back to the age of Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
When you're a shutdown corner, when you believe you're the best in the game, you got to walk around with some swag. You got to walk with your chest boasted out and preach that it's you that's going to make this defense work. So, yes, you are going to get a little bit of that, but I'm sure this situation has humbled him a bit, and I'm sure going to a new team, you'll get a more resolved Jaire. And listen, I got nothing but good things to say about Ja. Every time I interviewed him, he was spectacular. He always has this kind of personality that's fun and intoxicating, but there have been moments in the past where you scratch your head. For example, 2 years ago down in Carolina, where he chose to just elect himself a captain in a football game, take the field, go out for the coin toss, and actually call the coin flip. He was suspended for that game. So there are moments where you question where Ja is personally within the football team. But then, man, that top-end player, I do think the Ravens got a chance here to bring out the best in a 28-year-old cornerback.
And I wonder what your perspective is on, he clearly wanted to be in Baltimore. Clearly that relationship with Lamar Jackson played out. As was reported by a few people, there was more money on the table, even from, as you bring up, his hometown team, right? Like, they offered more money, but he wanted to be here and he wanted to be with Lamar. Do you feel like that might impact, like that might bring the best version out of Jaire, that this was where he chose to be, this was his priority to come to Baltimore?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a Louisville connection there. And there is a, hey, we're top players coming from the same college, and this is what we do. Yeah, I absolutely think that playing with Lamar Jackson could potentially make John more focused, could bring him back into the total team mindset that it takes to really propel your team to the next level. There's no doubt that the two of them have a great relationship and that they have each other's back. So, when we talk about Ja being Ja, maybe Lamar is one of those guys that can walk around Ja when he's being Ja and say, hey man, what's going on with you today? Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting way of looking at it, right? That is a really hey, just because we have you here, and I never know who I can talk to about this type of thing. One of my favorite human beings on the face of the planet, he was just on with us recently, is Ravens fullback Pat Ricard. And as someone who did this at an extraordinarily high level and is one of the best in the game, can you give me some perspective? As it was wild to me when the Ravens signed Derrick Henry, that like Derrick Henry was talking about how excited he was to work with Pat Ricard. And it's funny because Pat like almost gets teary-eyed thinking about like how cool that is. Can you speak at all to like the reverence that you have or how impressed you have been by the player that Pat Ricard is in an era where obviously the position has clearly been de-emphasized?
Yeah, listen, I left the league in 2018, and I think Pat Ricard was right around that time coming in, 18, 19, somewhere around that time. And he was brought in as a defensive lineman. Now, I always said if you're going to be a fullback in the NFL, you have to be very versatile. You got to be able to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Take a look at Kyle Juszczyk. Now, Pat Ricard's versatility is completely different, but it's still versatile. He can play defensive line.
Yep.
He can play offensive guard. We've seen him do both of those in a football game. And yet where he really excels is being able to get that run game started, going downhill, and being able to open holes where there are just cracks. And listen, I've been fascinated with the way he's been able to bring that old style of fullback back to the Ravens in a league that's been trying to get away from that old style of run game. You know, the league's been catching up to the pass game and getting fast linebackers and spreading everybody out, and then they try and puncture those open defenses out of sub packages. Well, not the Ravens, and that's Patrick Ricard's a big reason because of that.
Man, he's a special player. He is, and they are so good when he is on the field. Man, it is wild to see. So I've never asked this before. I don't know, when you were growing up, like in York County, who were you a fan of? Because it's such a battleground. There's a lot of York County that's like Ravens fans, John. Like, were you at all Ravens territory?
You know, York County is that's kind of the Mason-Dixon line for the Eagles and Steelers, right? That's where they meet. That's where they meet in the state, and it's just and when you're on that line, that's when you get the really obnoxious, passionate Eagles and Steelers fans that just bang heads nonstop.
Because they got to fight, and, right? Yeah.
You know, I was growing up. My father was a Cowboys fan, and guess what? I grew up in the '90s when the Cowboys were exceptional.
So right,
and if there was any team to pick that was going to really rub the Eagles and the Steelers the wrong way, it was the Dallas Cowboys.
So
ultimately, I was a Cowboys fan, and then the Ravens came to town, and they were a fun team to root for. So. I've always had an admiration for the way that the Ravens have done things, even from the moment they got into Baltimore.
I love the idea of you just being like a troll, like just saying, I'm going to piss everybody off.
I got no problem saying that either.
Yeah,
absolute troll.
That really does explain how somebody can go out and just knock heads for hours. It's like, it's in my blood, man. I just want to fight with people. It explains a lot. John Kuhn, I know you got a podcast now. Can we plug that for you?
Yeah, it's called the Brick and the Stick podcast. Myself, Matt Schneidman. We talk everything Green Bay Packers. Obviously, huge fan base in Green Bay, the worldwide fan base. We got people coming into town from Germany, England, all over Brazil, all over the world. And because of that, we want to put something out to pleasure the fans. He's a beat writer I consider one of the best in the area, and I get to call the games as well. So we really dive in deep on this stuff.
Great stuff, man. At Kuhn J30 on Twitter is how you can give him a follow. John Kuhn, really appreciate you, man. Thank you for spending the time with us this morning. We really enjoyed the conversation.
No problem. Had a lot of fun. Thank you.
John Kuhn, Green Bay Packers legend, and, that's two, right? Like two guys that we've had on the last 2 weeks that both have raved about why Jaire Alexander is such a good fit in Baltimore. Dude, at the price they got him, as I said, was I interested in Jaire Alexander? Absolutely. What was my caveat? As long as it's not a bidding war. When you saw the number they got Jaire Alexander at, it was very clear it was not a bidding war. This is a win. Now, a win in June does not guarantee a win in January. He's got to be on the field. If the injury issues linger and he doesn't play, then just because it was a risk worth taking doesn't mean it's going to be a risk that pays off. It's possible that Jaire Alexander is as good as we remember Jaire Alexander being. If that happens, it's, steal of the century, right? Like, it's one of the great moves in Ravens history. But I'm not going to assume that until I see it. For now, I just think it was a risk worth taking. I know, for example, like Rita. By the way, there's a new episode of Rita and Glenn available this week with a major special guest.
Ooh,
incredible get this week. Couldn't believe that we were able to get Griffin Bass.
Oh, that sounds like a good one.
But new episode of Rita and Glenn. It's up in the greatest hits. It's up on YouTube. Subscribe at Rita and Glenn on YouTube. And you can check it out. And Rita yesterday was talking about, like, hey, now, look, the front office did its job. Now it's on the players. And to some extent, I do agree with her, but I want to be careful. in name value, Jaire Alexander is everything. I still have to see him be healthy and play. And it doesn't mean I'm going to come down to the front office. Sometimes it's just bad luck. And I think she said that in her video. She was like, health, with the caveat of health. But health is a big one, particularly for Alexander. But yeah, I'm excited about it. Absolutely. I think it was a move that was worth making. It certainly was a price worth paying. And clearly, it's powerful. The Jaire Alexander wanted to be here of it seems to stand out. And so when it comes to what kind of teammate is he going to be, he chose this. He wants to be here. He wants to be with Lamar. And according to Adam Schefter, left money on the table. Probably easier to do when you've made the type of money that Jaire Alexander has made. It doesn't seem like he left $12 million on the table. It might have been a difference in a couple $1 million, but that's still the difference in a couple $1 million. And noteworthy, like the Panthers part of it. Like that is where he grew up. I think technically he was born in Philly, but it's sort of like Alex Freeman. Like he moved at a very young age. And so that's why the whole goofy thing happened in Charlotte, because that to him is his hometown. And the Panthers are on the table. Now, I certainly understand why the Ravens are more desirable of a location than the Panthers are. But he had the chance to go home for more money, and he said, I want to be with Lamar. And that definitely stands out. That definitely feels noteworthy and like it means something. Appreciate John Kuhn taking the time. Chris, I understand your point. Chris says, to me, this is why the Orioles are right to not offer extensions to Gunnar and Adley. Those are the types of guys that should be the ones that step up and say the buck stops here, and they should be the demonstrative, fired-up guys that are leading the way and not allowing a team to blow an 8-run lead. I mean, kind of all over the place on that one. I don't even know what to say in response. I really don't know what to say in response.
Blow it all up then, I guess. Right?
I mean, I
bring me up. Call me up.
Adley wasn't even.
I won't let that happen.
Adley wasn't even playing.
No, Adley didn't play.
I mean, he came in as a pinch hitter.
Gunnar
later.
had 2 hits, almost beat out an infield hit.
Yeah,
that, probably wouldn't have done anything anyway because the next guy would have struck out.
I don't know. I don't know what to say here exactly. I think we're all very emotional because we all watch the game. And again, I'm not even trying to fight about that. It sucks, man. It sucks. I think teams with really good players that are demonstrative leaders have blown big leads in baseball games too. I know a lot of people pointed out that maybe the Orioles have been a bit too frat housey. Like, we all like the fun, but, there needs to be more fire. And that's a topic that, today I don't think I'm prepared to really dive into, the psychology and the makeup of the line between fun culture guys and demonstrative leaders. I know J.J. Hardy's opined about that. That was him. He was the guy that had to turn to Manny and Scope and say, "Shut up." So, is that what occurred last night? I don't think so. I think it was baseball. I think baseball happened last night. That's my gut. But does it mean you're definitively wrong? I can't say that either. I'm going to disagree with you. I think the Orioles should give a boatload of money to Gunnar Henderson. That's where we're going to separate. We're going to separate on that one. I think the Orioles should pay a lot of money to Gunnar Henderson. And I don't think that watching them lose or blow an 8-0 lead is going to change my mind about that particular topic. All right, we continue on. It's a busy Thursday edition of GCR. It's a busy weekend coming up in Baltimore. And as part of that busy weekend, it is Whipsnakes homecoming weekend. Thank you. As the Whips will be at home at Homewood Field both Saturday night and Sunday afternoon, playing the second game of both of those doubleheaders in the PLL. Joining us now, someone who I had the pleasure of calling his games at Loyola and really enjoyed watching him play, and was part of maybe the greatest rookie class in sports history last year. He is Whipsnakes midfielder Adam Poitras, and he's with us now here on GCR. Adam, it's Glenn back in Baltimore. It's great to catch up with you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us this morning.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, Glenn.
Hey,
Good
man.
to hear from you again.
It's great to hear from you, dude. I'm so happy for you. When you found out that it was going to be the Whipsnakes, and at that point, right, like, you've waited, your name hasn't been called for a little while, nothing's guaranteed. Were you confident that you had the chance to make it stick and to end up being such an important part of the way that you were, or were you at all apprehensive? Like, I don't know, the numbers game just, heck, I think you got released pretty quickly, right? Like, the numbers game just might not work for me.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly had no expectations after my last college season, and I felt fortunate and grateful to have Coach Segni call me and give me a chance. And it was kind of playing with house money at that point, going to training camp, not really knowing what to expect. But I guess it all worked out from there.
Yeah, did it ever, right? Like, did it ever? What was that like for you to get the opportunity, to be able to make the most out of the opportunity? The season that you guys put together last year and making the run to the championship game, from I don't know if it's going to happen to I'm a key part of a team that's playing in a title game. Can you describe what that run was like?
Yeah, it was kind of just all a big whirlwind. It kind of happened so fast, and the summer season goes by so quickly. You're traveling every weekend, and before you know it, it's the end of the year and it's playoffs, and you kind of just go as the season goes, and you don't really think about it too much. You think about it, you kind of get yourself wrapped up in where you're at. But it was just a ton of fun. I think that's what made it really easy, and our team was really, really close. And I mean, unfortunately, we couldn't get it done, but it was a really, really fun summer.
What about like that group of rookies, right? Like, and it's not even like you guys came from different places, right? Like TJ from Penn State and Ajax from it. Like, was there like a relationship there, a bond that you guys built? Because it really is insane how impactful you all were so quickly on a really good team.
I think it's more of a testament to the older guys who welcomed us so quickly and just make us feel welcome and let us play our own game. You're not trying to change to fit the league or fit the team. Like, they all just helped us assimilate so quickly. So I think it's a testament to both the rookies who are confident to play as well as the older guys who helped us learn as the season went. All
right, let's get to the issue. What the hell happened to start the season this year, and what was the conversation like when you guys were down 6-0 on Saturday? Like, how did you flip the script in order to make sure you guys didn't dig yourselves an 0-3 hole?
Yeah, I mean, we were confident coming this season. We tried to kind of emulate what we did at the end of last year, and obviously last year's different, and you can't carry over everything. But yeah, we definitely didn't start the way we wanted to, and I think at 6-0 we just kind of looked internally, and it's not what the Atlas was doing; it was what we were doing that wasn't working. So it was a bit of tough love at 6-0, but I think it's a testament to our team that we were able to just play like one play at a time and one goal at a time. You can't score 6 at once. And then when we went on that run, we wouldn't let them get back in the game.
Hey, man, it worked out, and obviously a huge first win of the season coming into homecoming weekend. Adam Poitras with us here on GCR, Loyola alum, Whipsnakes, playing at Homewood Field this weekend. Adam, what's it been like for you getting to be playing alongside Rob Pennell? And not to take anything away from all the other guys that were already on the team, but this is, an icon of the sport. What have you already soaked up from him, and how cool of an experience has that been for you?
Yeah, it's awesome. I was really excited when we were able to sign him in the off season, and he's as advertised. He's extremely intelligent. He knows the game inside and out, and he can really dissect everything and just you want to learn from people like that. So it's been awesome to learn how to play with somebody who can distribute the ball that well.
Man, and he's still pretty good, right? Like, you're not getting like the end of his career. He's still a difference maker at this point.
Yeah, he prides himself in being in awesome shape and keeping his stick skills fine-tuned. So, I mean, I don't think we were ever expecting someone to be on the tail end of their career.
Yeah.
We expected greatness, and he's definitely brought it.
Adam, for you, right? Like, you go right from the PLL, from college season, PLL, back to the indoor game, where obviously you had an amazing season. Do you ever say, hey, I could use a week off? Like, how do you like go through? This is a physical ass game that you're playing. How in the world do you keep yourself in shape to the point where you can play as much as you play during the course of a calendar year?
I think this year, after PLL season, I put the stick away for a little bit and just let give the body a little bit of rest before indoor again.
Okay.
And just prioritize getting my body right and not overstressing. And then I had a few weeks off before outdoor season started again, so I was just excited to get back after it. I've been feeling good, and I'm happy to be healthy.
Hey man, I'm sure you were not rooting to not be in the championship. Like, I'm sure that's not the case whatsoever. But once you were like, all right, maybe the week or two might be good. Maybe it might be good.
I do appreciate the time off sometimes.
Right. Adam, you got to be a part of it last year, right? And obviously because you guys, play against Hopkins, you knew about the Homewood thing, and boy, Loyola Hopkins games are some of the best, atmospheres in all of college lacrosse. But being back here and playing in front of what everyone knows is the most electric atmosphere in all of lacrosse, playing at Homewood this weekend. How cool is that for you? How different is it to take nothing away from all of the places that you go, but how special is that when you get this opportunity to come back and play here this weekend?
Yeah, at first it's been interesting playing at home at Homewood, where a place where you really you really disliked in college.
Right.
But we all really appreciate, like, the Baltimore fans. Baltimore's a hotbed for lacrosse, and they get loud and they appreciate the league and the sport, which is awesome. So I'm sure this year will be even more fun to come back and be kind of cemented as a home team at Homewood.
It's funny because I talked to a lot of the guys about the Olympic thing, but like I don't know if you know, I'm the voice of the national team for USA Lacrosse, so like I know that program well. I don't know a lot about the Canadian program. I also know there's only 12 spots on the roster and only 10 field players. How much does that drive you? How much is that pushing you right now to make sure you're in position to have a chance to do that in 2028?
I thought it was really exciting when they first introduced lacrosse and Olympic sport, and you kind of see the sixes evolve in the world. It's definitely a far-off goal. You think about every once in a while, you think it'd be an awesome opportunity to represent your country on the world stage. But, I mean, at this point, it is kind of far off. And if it were to happen, it'd be awesome. But right now, I'm kind of focused on the PLL season.
I get it, right? Like, you guys have goals. You want to win championships there and then go from there, right? Okay, I talk a lot about, one of my favorite things about calling you is, like, Canadian players always have the knack of just creating in situations where you just find yourself shaking your head and saying, how? Has that ever happened to you? And you maybe a little bit less of like the traditional, like you come up to me more of like that. You would fire a shot from somewhere and I'd say, I didn't expect that. I had no idea that you were going to pull the trigger there. Do you have a favorite? Do you have one, whether it's from pros or at Loyola, that like stands out to you most, that like, this is my own favorite moment that I don't mind going back and watching on YouTube from time to time?
Oh man, that's tough to pick one. I don't know. It's tough to pick. It's tough to just pick one. I had some fun moments, and maybe some guys celebrate some goals more than others. But I think maybe my last career goal, I went around the world at Navy. Obviously, lost that game, but that was a fun moment to have.
Yeah, I remember that. I do remember that was a pretty good one. You're right.
That might be the only one of those. Maybe I'll go with that.
All right. Is that? Wait, did you say that? Is that your only BT? That's your only BTB? Really?
I don't think I ever had another one in college.
Wow. I guess I'd have to think about that for a second too. Maybe you're right. Hey, I know, and I'm sure you hear it, right? Like, it was a tough season for Loyola. We all know that. And when that happens, people start to, ask questions. I know the greatness of Charlie Toomey. I know never to count that man out in any situation. What do you tell people when they start asking you those questions? Like, hey, what's going on at Loyola? Like, what do you say to them when that comes up in conversation?
I kind of just laugh sometimes because, you watch one season and you don't get to see what's inside the doors. And I'm very confident in what they can become, regardless of who's on the roster, who's on the staff. Coach Toomey's at the helm, then, anything can happen. We had seasons where we were 2-6, ended up going 9-8 and playing pitch league finals to go to the tournament. So, you never know what can happen. He'll galvanize the guys, and they'll always be in tough games.
There's no question about that. There are a few people that I trust more in the entire sport than I trust Charlie Toomey. What about Coach Staggs is such a fascinating person to me, right? Like he's got such a cool personality. There is no buttoned up version of Coach Staggs. Like even when he talks to us, he's the exact same guy. What's it been like, continuing kind of from one great coach to another in the outdoor game?
It's been a lot of fun. Coach Staggs is definitely one of one, and you appreciate who he is and how honest he is with you because you never want somebody to lie to your face. So sometimes truth hurts, but it's definitely made me a better player and made me a better person. And you know what you're getting every week. You know he cares a lot, and he's the same as Coach Toomey where he wants the best for the team and every player.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. What else is going on in your world, right? I know it's basically like lacrosse all the time, more or less. Is there anything else that you got going on in your world these days, dude?
No, it's pretty much whatever happens between weekends of lacrosse. That's really all there is.
Are you? So I assume, Adam. I don't think I've ever asked you. Were you a big Maple Leafs fan growing up?
I've become more of one.
Okay.
It's tough to watch, but yes, I'll admit I've been one.
So are you like freaking out about the idea of trying to push to add Connor McDavid now in free agency? Is that like a big thing for you?
Yeah, I don't see that coming, but if it were to happen, it'd be pretty cool.
I don't know how that would work, right? Like the two of them together, that would seem like an awful lot, but like it'd be a cool experiment for hockey. Like it would be a cool thing to see if somehow that were to play out that way. How does it work? Like, were you guys rooting for Edmonton because you just want to see the cup come back, or is that more like are you kidding me? We don't care about them. They have nothing to do with us. Like, how does that go for Canadians?
No, I would have liked to see the cup come back.
Okay.
It's been 30 years, I think, now, so it's been a while. If it were Montreal or Ottawa, maybe I feel differently. But,
okay.
Edmonton would have been cool.
Just because it's not as much of a rival in that way. I can understand that. I'm sure you're aware of the stat that like an American team has won the Grey Cup more recently than the Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup.
I have heard that stat, yeah.
Yeah, that is brutal. It's been 30 years since there's been an American team in the CFL. That is rough, man, no doubt about it. Adam, I'm so happy for you, dude. It's been so cool watching you thrive the way that you have in the pro game, man. It's awesome. Remind me, are you even on social media anywhere? I don't feel like you're a huge social media person.
I do have it. I use it just to look. I don't really post a whole lot.
Good for you. So follow him. Don't follow him. Whatever you want to do. Like whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's not.
Don't get too much if you follow me.
I will do my best. I'm bringing my sons to the game on Sunday, so I'm gonna try to get down and say hello. Really, truly thrilled for you, man. Continue to kick ass, and thank you for taking the time for us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me on.
Adam Poitras, Loyola legend, now at the Whipsnakes. And again, second game on Saturday, second game on Sunday afternoon for the Whipsnakes as part of homecoming weekend. And you can go right now to PremierLacrosseLeague.com in order to get your tickets. Boy, we've already had a lot going on here on a Thursday edition of the program. Things have been just rolling this morning, and we still have a lot more to do. Today's show is brought to you by the new print issue of Press Box. What happened? Drew stole mine. That's what happened. I don't know why that always works out that way.
Got you right here. That's an older one.
That's what the print issue of Press Box looks like. That's got Carmelo Anthony on the cover.
Should be plenty sitting out somewhere.
Yeah, all right. We'll have to get mine back. As we celebrate Baltimore's first ever basketball Hall of Famer, speaking to those who knew him best about how Baltimore shaped what proved to be his Hall of Fame career. You can go pick that up for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox. Read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. One more from Dave. Dave says, Glenn, you're right to point out that it's just one game, but it feels like this team specifically is fragile enough that one game could ultimately be the decision maker. To me, this is a reminder of why it is they should be selling at the deadline and that what we had seen with a couple of sweeps was mostly fool's gold. I want to be careful about saying fool's gold because, like, even bad teams sweep teams. Like, I don't think that what happened when they swept the White Sox or when they swept the Angels was like fraudulent. I don't think they were as bad as their record said they were at the point at which they fired Brandon Hyde. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't think they're very good, but it doesn't mean I think they were that bad. And I'll maintain, no one game, to me, tells the narrative. If your opinion yesterday was the Orioles should hold on to their guys and go for it, it would be insane for you to suddenly say, nope, I watched one game, and now I've changed my mind. That's nuts. Was that the first baseball game you ever watched in your life? What I would say is my opinion was that I think they're going to trade their pending free agents kind of no matter what. And I get it. And because I don't think this team can win a World Series and I don't think they're a playoff team, I'm okay with it. I would rather they sign a couple of them, but I'm okay with it. I want them to sign Zach Eflin, but as we talked about before, I don't want them to sign Zach Eflin and say, well, we did everything we needed to do pitching-wise. I think they need multiple pitchers to try to go win a World Series next year. So I would like them to sign Tomo Sagano, but I don't want them to sign Tomo Sagano and be like, well, we got Sagano, we got Bradish, we got Grayson, we got our guys. No. So it's a fine line, right? Like, I would like for them to sign those guys, but if they're not, or if they've attempted to and those guys have said, no, we're going to free agency, then, yeah, I think they should trade them. And that opinion isn't because of one game. It's big picture. That's what I think they should do. I think the overreaction to one game is emotional. And, Dave, if you're saying that yesterday you thought tide has turned, they should be aggressive. They should go trade 4 players at the deadline. And then all of a sudden you watch one baseball game and said, now they get rid of everybody. We're gonna disagree there. We're gonna diverge.
Trade Gunner, trade Adley.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean that was the other. I don't remember the other guy. Chris, was that his name? No, not that. We come back in. The great Juan Dixon, Maryland legend. He's got a new role this summer.
The real great Juan.
Well done.
Thank
He's got a new role. He's coaching Team Shell Shock in the basketball tournament. He joins us next to tell us all about it here on GCR. Feeling sluggish, unfocused, or not like yourself? It could be low testosterone. At Game Day Men's Health, we specialize in testosterone replacement therapy to help men boost energy, improve mood, and regain confidence. Our treatments, including testosterone cypionate, are safe, natural, and tailored to fit your lifestyle with weekly injections or pellet therapy. Get started today with a free testosterone test and feel the difference. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Game Day Men's Health, where men reclaim their game.
What makes the Costas Inn so special? This is Stan the Fan telling you that it's the people that work for you, cooking and serving. But that menu is also special with a capital S. Soups, salads, the raw bar, pasta dishes, seafood specialties, and entrees like the Costas Combo, steaks, chops, ribs, amazingly delicious meatloaf, and all manner of delicious filling sandwiches including pit beef and turkey and subs. Of course, the steamed crabs are as good as you can get anywhere, and they serve them 12 months a year. The crab cakes are out of this world. Costas is open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at 4100 North Point Boulevard, and coming soon, very soon, Costas in Timonium at the OTB Parlor at Timonium Racecourse. We'll get you the opening date real soon.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, we celebrate the first ever Baltimore basketball player to reach the Naismith Hall of Fame as we talk to those who knew Carmelo Anthony best about how his Baltimore upbringing shaped his legendary career. Also inside, Bo Smolka profiles Ravens second-round pick Mike Green and find our annual summer travel section with information on some of the best sporting events and activities in Maryland that your family can check out all summer long. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Thursday edition of the program. Tonight is Game 6. The trophy's in the house, and the best place to watch it is the house that is Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel. 100-foot media wall, great food and drinks. You're just steps away from the FanDuel Sportsbook. Maybe make a night out of it, perhaps if you're the type of person that has off work today. First of all, happy Juneteenth. I should have said that at the top. I'm sorry, we had a lot going on today. But happy Juneteenth. If you had off today, and maybe because you had off on a Thursday, you were like, I'm going to take off on a Friday, too. So
that's what you're supposed to do, right?
Maybe make a night out of it. Get a room for the night. Enjoy. It's going to be an awesome atmosphere inside Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Had to do this just a little bit earlier because of his schedule and opportunity to catch up with one of the greatest players in local basketball history, Juan Dixon, right here on GCR. Well, it's a pleasure, as always, to be joined now here on GCR by a man who, of course, is the greatest player in the history of the University of Maryland basketball program, pride of our city, pride of Calvert Hall, and he's taken on a new role this summer as he is now the head coach of Team Shell Shock, who will be playing in the basketball tournament in July. It is a pleasure, as always, to welcome back to the show Juan Dixon. Juan, it's Glenn. It's always good to catch up, man. Thank you for taking the time for us. We really appreciate it.
Hey, Glenn, I appreciate you having me, man.
This is there's so much that I want to cover with you about this one because I have sensed, and I know this is something you can speak to, that in the aftermath of everything that happened with the University of Maryland and Kevin Willard and his departure and Damon Evans and his departure, I heard from a lot of alumni who said, we want to be more involved. We want to have more ownership. And I've gotten the sense that everything about Team Shell Shock and being back in the basketball tournament this year might be a reflection of that. Can you speak to that for you? Because I know we saw you at Buzz's press conference, how important this is for you, not just for the tournament, but for a group of alumni wanting to surround the program again and help lift this program up.
Yeah, Glenn, it's very important. You know, just over the years since Coach Williams retired, I don't think a lot of former players felt like they were a part of what Maryland men's basketball was doing. And it's nothing against Turgeon or nothing against Willard, but we also have to show a united front to the head coaches that we're here to support them and help them feel as comfortable as possible. And with this TBT Shell Shock, that's exactly what we're doing. We're trying to uplift our program when it comes to the former players, all these greats that came to the University of Maryland, to form this coalition to do something special when it comes to Maryland basketball. Letting everyone know, whether it's alumni, student body, fans, administration, that the former players love Maryland athletics. We love Maryland as an institution, but we really, really worked hard during our times as Maryland basketball players to help this rich program get to where it is. So we're here to support Coach Buzz in any way we can. and we want to just show folks that we're going to show a united front as former players when it comes to the support of Maryland basketball.
I'll admit, one of the things I didn't know about Shell Shock and TBT is there's actually an opportunity for you guys to raise some NIL money that can go towards the program, correct?
Yeah, that's the goal, man. That's all these former players that came through, alumni, get everybody we want everyone to feel like they're a part of this coalition, what we're building with this brotherhood. And the goal eventually is to assist with NIL when it comes to Maryland basketball, going out, getting some of these best players throughout college basketball and in high school.
Juan, is that something that when when the guys started reaching out to you and you started reaching, obviously you're Juan Dixon, right? Like a lot of stuff goes through you. But like when you started reaching out to other guys, did you feel like sort of a groundswell of more guys wanting to be involved, willing to be involved, that like everything that happened has led to a push of we've got to do more for this program right now?
Absolutely, Glenn. And it started with Nima Omidbar. He started this Shell Shock organization a few years ago. And Matt Rado and Dave Neal, they have assisted Nima up until this point. And then from there, Matt and Dave Neal reached out to me and Nima, and they talked about me coming on board, being a head coach. And then they reached out to all the other former players, Joe Smith, Byron Mouton, Audrey Collins, Sean Mosley, and Travis Garrison. Now it trickles down to us getting former players to understand the bigger picture when it comes to competing in the TBT. Yes, do we want to go out and win? Yes. Do we want to show folks that we have Maryland guys that want has a future in coaching? Absolutely. But most importantly, it's about building this brotherhood out, this coalition, so that we're all working towards a common goal, and that's helping Maryland basketball to achieve another national title. That's what this is all about. It's simply about helping Maryland basketball elevate to a top 10 program consistently year in and year out, and hopefully we can help Coach Buzz and his team win a national championship in the near future.
You can find out more by going to shellshocktbt.com. And Juan mentioned a number of those other alumni, Chris Wilcox, Gravis Vasquez. A lot of those guys are going to be participating in a celebrity golf tournament, which is coming up. You can find more information. We'll link it up on our Twitter account as well at Glenn Clark Radio by going to shellshocktbt.com and clicking on golf tournament. It's going to be an awesome day, a chance for you to play alongside some of the greatest players in Maryland basketball history. So encourage you to go check that out. It's on Monday, July 14th at Whiskey Creek. Juan Dixon is with us here on GCR. Juan, you referenced the coaching thing because I know that was uniquely Len Elmore brought that up, needing to have Maryland representation on staff. And I know at the moment that's not the case, but is that part of the story, is that this could be a springboard to show, hey, there are alumni, and obviously you've been on staff before. We, of course, know that you were the coach at Coppin State for years, that there are alumni that can be helpful on staff. And is that an important thing that the alumni base wants to see happen moving forward with the program?
No doubt. Len wrote an unbelievable letter referencing that we do need former players involved in the program. But we all know as former players that this program is Buzz Williams' program. Buzz Williams is going to do what's best for his program, his players, and the future of Maryland basketball. So I don't want anyone to think we're trying to force our way to be part of Coach Buzz's team. We just want to let folks know that we have Maryland former players out here coaching, doing a hell of a job. You think about what Dwayne Simpkins did. Dave Dickinson has been in the business for many, many years, and he's over at Ohio State. I know when I think about John Auslander, who's over at Towson, who I coached with for many years at Coppin State. So, and then, and Steve Blake, and of course, I want to get involved, Andre Collins. So it's coaches out here that's more than capable of helping Maryland basketball get back to the level where Coach Buzz wants it to. So it's just a matter of us coming together, working as one, support one another, and hopefully in the future, Coach Buzz trusts us enough to know that we are about his vision. We want to be a part of his team. Because there's no doubt that when it comes to coaching, Glenn, it's my purpose. It's my passion. It's my why. I was very fortunate to play basketball for many years. But when it comes to, like, understanding the game, understanding young people, working hard, like, I know what it looks like. Dave Dickinson knows what it looked like. Simpkins, Auslander, I could go on down the line. We all know what that looks like. So whenever that happens in the future, it's great. But, yes, with TBT and the shell shock, we're going to show that we're willing to work as one, but at the same time, you know, put these coaches out there, put these players out there that we can compete, all right, and coach at a high level.
I know, obviously, Keith Gatlin knows a thing or two about coaching, which we're seeing with Aaron Wiggins, right?
Exactly.
In the NBA Finals, right? Which is a very cool thing.
I mean, it's so many names. It's so many names.
Oh, I know.
It's so many names.
I know. Juan, I wonder, just from the conversations you had, I mentioned, obviously, you know, you made your presence known at that press conference and showed your support. Have you had, like, conversations with Coach Buzz? Do you get a sense for how receptive he is to the alumni community and how much he wants you guys to be involved moving forward?
I had a brief conversation with him. I did express to him that I would love to be a part of his team and what he's building at Maryland. But Coach Buzz has been busy getting his staff together. He's been busy getting his roster in order. Right. That's important. The college basketball is at a different place than it was when I played. So he had to find 13 to 15 new players. All right. And we understand how busy he is. You know, we all understand he has a fifth assistant coach position still available. Would I love to be a part of that? Absolutely. With Grievous or Blake down the line? Absolutely. But we're going to do what's best for our program. We're going to do what's best when it comes to the support of Coach Buzz and helping him get to a place where Maryland basketball is respected as one of the top 10, top 20 programs in the country year in and year out. That's what we're all about. We're about the student athletes, helping them develop at a high level, not just on the floor, but however we can assist as former players off the floor when it comes to their development.
Juan, I know earlier this morning you guys made some player announcements for the team that's going to be playing in July, and two of my absolute favorite people, one a Baltimore guy. It's kind of cool how this works, right? Like, it's almost like a Juan and Lonnie thing, Baltimore and DMV, as you bring in both Daryl Morcell and Melo Trimble. Knowing these guys the way that you do and knowing the types of players they are and what they've accomplished in their own pro careers, how exciting for you. I know there's still more that you're going to be adding to the team, but knowing you've got those two guys, how important is that for what you guys are going to be able to do in the tournament?
It's very important. Those two guys are legends when it comes to Maryland basketball. They left it all out on the floor. We all know what Melo and Daryl have done over the years. But most importantly, those guys are still playing pro basketball at a high level. I know Melo just won his second championship in a row in Russia, a big part of them having success, winning MVP. Everything we're doing, TBT, it's going to be predicated around putting the right pieces around Melo Trimble, around Daryl Morcell. Of course, we want to continue to add former players and legends to this roster. But, you know, we need to step out and get people who've been citizens in Maryland, like Anthony Tark, who I coached at Coppin State for many years, played in the NBA, B. Fobbs over at Towson, Brian Fobbs over at Towson. Like, we have an opportunity to build an unbelievable roster and go out and compete for $1 million. And I'll go as a staff, myself, Joe Smith, John Auslander, Andre Collins, Byron Mouton, Ken Auslander. We want to put these young men in positions to be successful make sure they compete at a high level on both ends of the floor and go out and win games. Because towards the end of July, Glenn, TBT is pretty much the only basketball on outside of the WNBA. It's going to be folks watching TBT, and Melo Trimble could get an opportunity on the NBA roster. You just never know. I remember coaching Mike James many years back in the TBT, and he ended up on the NBA roster after that summer. So anything can happen. We're looking to put a great product on the floor, play a high-level brand of basketball on both ends, and see what happens.
I would add, for people that never watched the TBT before, it was my first introduction to the Elam ending. I was glued. Like, I've known Daryl since he was 15 years old, right? And so when he played the last time around, and he actually had an Elam ending game winner in that tournament, I was mesmerized by it, right? Like, to me, the Elam ending is like the cool. I miss buzzer beat. Like, I know that buzzer beaters are like the coolest thing in basketball, but it gives you almost like a guaranteed buzzer beater every game. I don't know if you've ever been involved, with anything else. I know the basketball tournament is the big one, but what have your thoughts been about the Elam ending? Do you like it? Do you feel like it has maybe room to grow in basketball?
Oh, no, Glenn. I've been a part of the Elam ending. I told you I was fortunate enough to coach Mike James and Kyle Hines, that unbelievable team back in 2019. We made it to the Final Four in 2019, lost to a really good Marquette team. But Mike James hit a couple buzzer beaters, Elam enders, like, and we needed one more point, and we're up one, and he's whapping a pull-up, fading, going left. So the Elam ending brings a different excitement to the end of the game. It takes the intensity to another level. Yeah. Because if you're down by 8 going into the Elam ending, you still have an opportunity, if you can string together 3 stops in a row, 4 stops in a row, you still have a chance to win that game. I love it. It comes down to execution and winning on the defensive end, for sure.
And obviously you can't just foul, right? Like the stuff that people always complain about late in the game, right? Like it goes on forever. No, you just go play basketball. Like we just play basketball. Right. Try to play defense. Try to get stops, which is amazing. All right, I have to ask Juan, because everybody's freaking out about the possibility. Have you and Steve talked at all? And I know Corey gets to make his own decisions. I know that's how it goes. You're not going to force him to go to Maryland. But has that thought crossed your mind that if Steve's son Nick stays at Maryland, that maybe that could be a really cool thing? That if somehow your sons could reunite on the same team, I know it'd still be a couple years from now, but has that thought crossed your mind at all?
Yeah. Glenn, that would be wild, right? You come up full circle. I'm so happy for Blake and his family. I was actually, Corey, we got an opportunity to meet them. They were down in, I think it was Memphis, playing in the basketball tournament as well. And it was just like, damn, man, it'd be crazy if Corey gets an opportunity to play alongside Nick and those guys put on a Maryland jersey. And I know I would have tears coming out my eyes, but we on our end, we have a long way to go.
I get it.
I'm just literally, I wake my boys up every morning. We in the gym 5:30 in the morning. We get in the gym, get in the weight room, and we just getting home. So Corey understands the work he needs to put in to get to that level, and he has to earn the trust of Coach Buzz and his staff, because Coach Buzz players compete at the highest level.
Yep.
They play hard, but you also need to be talented and play the game the right way on both ends of the floor. So it's a process that we trust, and I do believe that Corey will be high major when all said and done.
I love that. I know a lot of people talked about Obinna Kesey's son is also in the mix at the moment, which would be, my God, how cool.
Him and Corey, same class.
How cool would that
and Corey.
be? Oh, man, that would be so cool.
Yeah.
Juan, I love this, and anything that we can do to support what you guys are doing, we can't wait to see. Again, get to the golf tournament and find out more by going to shellshocktbt.com. Click on the golf tournament link. We'll link it up on our Twitter, and support what they're doing. And then, of course, down at the JMU Regional starting on July 18th for Team Shell Shock. Juan Dixon, this is awesome. I think a lot of Maryland basketball fans are really fired up about it. We can't wait to see it and look forward to talking to you more about it as we get a little bit closer. As always, thank you for spending time with us this morning. Yeah, please, by all means.
Absolutely. Glenn, real quick, please go sign up for this golf tournament. It's going to be a huge deal. Right now, we already have 30 legends coming back to play golf. We're going to be in foursomes. Some of us play golf. Some of us don't. But we're out there to have a great time. We're out there to have a great time. And understand we're raising money for the Shell Shock TBT and try to get great players to come back and play for us. When it comes to coaching and managing this team, it's about our passion. When it comes to giving back and paying it forward, all right, and then us coming together under one shell at the University of Maryland. That's what it's about.
It's awesome stuff. Juan Dixon, you're the best. Thank you for taking the time for us, man. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Glenn. Talk soon.
There you go. That's Juan Dixon, obviously the legend himself, the greatest player in Maryland basketball history, and he will be coaching the basketball tournament team. And just to follow up, there's a couple genuine things there that go beyond just I'm talking to Juan Dixon. One is I really do dig the basketball tournament. I've talked about it. I'm really glad there's a Maryland team in it again because I'm a basketball fan. And it is really high-level basketball. I remember my son, when it was going on last year, was when my son was in the hospital for 10 days, and we were just looking for, like the nights that I was spending the night with him over there, if the Orioles weren't playing, I think they played like 2 afternoon games that week in Miami or something like that, and like if there was nothing on it, we were just looking for something to watch together, and he got super into it, like because he still didn't know that it was any different. He was trying to get me to explain, like, I was like, well, that's the Seton Hall team. He's like, well, wait, but I thought Seton Hall was a college team. We go through the whole thing.
So he basically got it, though.
He still struggles with some of these concepts. Where, like, I was talking about going to see the Whipsnakes this weekend, and he was like, saying to his younger brother, he's like, yeah, the Whipsnakes are a college team. I'm like, no. I'm like, some of them used to go to Maryland, but now they're the pro team for Maryland. Then he's like, well, why aren't they the Baltimore Whipsnakes? And I'm like, well, it's complicated. It's the whole thing. We went through a lot of that. But we spent a lot of time watching the basketball tournament last summer. And when Team Shell Shock was in a few years ago, I really was. I was glued. And, we've known Daryl Morcell for a long time, so I love that. Yeah, they announced Daryl Morcell, Mello Trimble, 2 of my favorites, 2 of fan favorites at Maryland. They are both going to be part of the basketball tournament team, Team Shell Shock. And then as far as the point that Juan brings up about the 5th assistant spot, which right now is open on Buzz Williams' staff, does it have to be a Maryland alum? No. As I said before, like there's no local kids on the roster for next year. And I don't like that. But if they go win the Big Ten this year and make a run to the Final Four, are we going to give a rat's ass that there weren't any local kids on the roster? Winning is, and I'm not suggesting that that's a reasonable expectation, but winning is the part that matters, right? Winning. Everything walks hand in hand with winning. If we chicken and the egg this, winning begats people caring deeply. Does people caring deeply lead to more winning? To be determined, right? Like, you want that to be the case. And the argument would be that if you have an alum on staff, then there's a vested amount of interest in that person. I also think there's benefit. I really do. When you have 5 assistants, I think there should be an alum on staff. Because I do think there's an inherent advantage of someone who knows the landscape, knows the... I genuinely believe that. When you have that many spots on your staff, one of them should be someone who knows the area, not just the area, knows what it's like for these kids, lived where they're living, the whole thing. Again, if they hire somebody else and they go win, then nobody's really going to care that there wasn't an alum on staff. But I think the point is relevant. With that many assistant coaching spots and this many high-profile alums in coaching, or that would be interested in coaching, right? Because Steve Blake technically isn't even in coaching. And to be clear, when we talked to Steve Blake the first time, and he wanted to be the head coach. At that point, I didn't get the sense that he would be interested in being an assistant coach. With his son now being on the roster, I think it's possible that might change. The reason at the time where I felt that way was not because Steve Blake would directly tell me that. It was just doing some mental math and talking to people. Steve Blake made enough money in his pro career. He had a lengthy pro career and got some really nice contracts. That moving his family for a lower-paying assistant coach job probably wouldn't be something for Steve Blake. But with now his son being here, that becomes a bit different, right? Now the moving your family part of it would be maybe you may or may not move the entirety of the family, but if you did, you would also be able to have them around your son and have him around Nick and what he's doing. And it's a little bit more than just moving for a low-paying assistant coaching job. It's maybe moving temporarily to be around the family. So I think it's more plausible than I thought previously. But if it's not, as Juan points out, he obviously has extensive coaching experience, both being on staff at Maryland previously and obviously being the head coach at Coppin. He actually, I think, was the coach at UDC, if I remember correctly, before that. Keith Gatlin, who I brought up, and Dave Dickerson, and there is a large number of Taj has been an assistant coach. There's a number of Maryland alums that have coaching experience, or it would be a good opportunity for them to get their first coaching experience. I think that spot should go to an alum. And if Juan wants it, I think Juan would be a fine choice for that spot. The argument that's made that, hey, Buzz might leave in a few years, so you'd like to use that spot for an alum who could be groomed into being the next head coach, that always sounds really good.
Right. And then if they are good, then that guy's going to get poached.
And that's or could be. Or, do you end up making the wrong hire the next time because you feel like, well, we put this guy in the position where we were saying you're being groomed to be the next head coach. That always gets a little messy to me. It sounds really good. And I'm not opposed to it. It would be, let's just say I'll use Steve, for example. Let's say Steve gets that job, and the idea is, hey, we couldn't hire you because the job required high-level coaching experience. But, Buzz, there's a good chance that he's going to be gone in 6 years. Let's just be honest about it. And you spend 6 years on his staff, potentially 4 of which will be with your son anyway.
Yeah.
You guys have some success. There's a really good chance that in 6 years you'd be in line. It sounds great, right? Or if it's Juan, right? Whatever it is.
I guess with Steve, it's...
And Juan, it could be him and his son here in a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
With Corey...
so I guess with both of them, that does kind of... You're not worried about George Washington jobs suddenly open, and they're like, I could be the head coach at a lower...
uniquely... Well, I mean, you say that, right? But in an era where your son could transfer tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And first of all, we're projecting with Corey Dixon. We don't know that Corey Dixon is going to end up at Maryland. It sounds really good. Gravis, right? I'll throw him in that conversation. I think Gravis, he's done a little bit of coaching in the G League, and
Juan brought him up, obviously.
And he's sort of mentioned interest in being more involved with the program and being interested in coaching, and he's obviously an incredibly passionate person. I've always thought Eric Hayes was the type of person that would make an incredible coach. He just has that temperament about him. But Juan would be Juan would absolutely be a great choice. One question, no doubt about it, for this role and for the potential of that. But I just don't we draw to absolutes. To your point, if the program has success and GW needs a coach and Juan doesn't know that he's going to get the job at Maryland, but he's been on staff for a couple of years and this is a high-level coaching opportunity, you might run the risk of losing him. And my answer would be okay. And that sucks, but that's the way that it goes. I think that 5th assistant spot definitely should go to an alum. Someone deeply invested in the program. And somebody might say, well, that's the type of stuff that fans care about that just doesn't matter. I think it's both. I really do. I think fans do care about it. And that helps generate more interest in the program, which is a good thing. I don't know that the head coach has to be an alum. Although, obviously, the last time that happened, it worked out really well.
Yeah. Going to a game knowing you're going to see Juan Dixon on the sideline.
Yeah, right?
See
Steve Blake. Yeah, Graves Vasquez. Yeah. I'm not saying that that's going to sell thousands of tickets, but I do think it adds to the experience. And it means that that person is available to go out and glad a hand with people that might donate money to the program. Those are the little things that you just don't think about. Do you need it to be an alum for the actual coaching? Probably not. But with respect, and I'm just throwing a name, Steve Stevenson is the guy that takes the job, and you have
he knows
you have a corporate account. You are being courted by Maryland to spend money with the program to donate to the NIL, and you're throwing a company golf outing, and you call the school and you say, hey, can you send somebody up? We're thinking about spending money with you guys. Like, how do we make this work? And the school says, yeah, we can get you Steve Stevenson. Or the school says, yeah, and Juan Dixon will come up. And again, none of this is saying you just hire any old alum for the sake of hiring any old alum. Like, they've got to be capable of doing the job and passionate and interested in doing the job. And the 5th assistant probably involves some, although I don't know. We say 5th assistant. I don't know what the structure is of the 4 that Buzz brought with him. So when I say, like, it might involve a little bit of the work that maybe a prominent alum would not want to do, someone who's had a lot of success, made a lot of money, I don't know. But, yeah, man, it's sort of a no-brainer. And there's 5 spots on the staff. One of them can't be for an alum? I think that stuff is important. I do. I think winning is most important. I'm not going to shake. Winning is priority 1. And everything else will fall in line if you win. But I do think these things matter too. All right. We are into hour number 2 of GCR. Today's show is also brought to you by just the Stan the Fan Variety Hour, which, of course, happens every Monday. Stan Ross Grimsley, that is, former Orioles pitcher, Luke Jackson, get together to talk birds, talk baseball. You can find it at facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab. Go to youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. As always, Stan's shows are brought to you by the Costas Inn and the brand new Costas Inn at the racetrack in Timonium. Make sure you have checked out the brand new Costas Inn. All right, so we're going to move. I know I mentioned DeJuan Summers at the top of the show, the Baltimore native. He's actually going to join us tomorrow to talk Big 3. And so when we come back in...
What? It sounds like you're like not excited or something.
We're going to talk about what happened at the College World Series last night. Okay. That's next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses make golf fun and affordable. All 5 local courses, Pine Ridge, Mount Pleasant, Forest Park, Carroll Park, and Clifton Park, are challenging and fun for players of all skill levels. Book your tee time today at classic5golf.com.
Celebrate 60 years of America's favorite muscle car at Live Casino and win a new Ford Mustang. Earn entries daily and enjoy revved-up specials across our restaurants and bars all June. Cruise in Saturday, June 28th and be one of 25 players to win cool trips, hot prizes, or a new Ford Mustang. Hit the gas at Live Casino at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, we celebrate the first ever Baltimore basketball player to reach the Naismith Hall of Fame as we talk to those who knew Carmelo Anthony best about how his Baltimore upbringing shaped his legendary career. Also inside, Bo Smolka profiles Ravens second-round pick Mike Green and find our annual summer travel section with information on some of the best sporting events and activities in Maryland that your family can check out all summer long. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Feeling sluggish, unfocused, or not like yourself? It could be low testosterone. At Game Day Men's Health, we specialize in testosterone replacement therapy to help men boost energy, improve mood, and regain confidence. Our treatments, including testosterone cypionate, are safe, natural, and tailored to fit your lifestyle with weekly injections or pellet therapy. Get started today with a free testosterone test and feel the difference. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Game Day Men's Health, where men reclaim their game.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR. So we continue on a Thursday edition of the program. Don't forget, all summer long, County Sports Zone will be keeping you updated on everything related to news in the high school sports world, coaching changes, anything you missed from the year, and then getting you ready for football season in the fall. It's all proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com, countysports.zone. Now, we are in no position to pile on anyone else. The Orioles blew an 8-0 lead last night in the baseball game. And so when I say this, I'm not trying to pile on Arkansas as much as if you missed it, really an unbelievable turn of events. Do you have, I'll give you a second here. For anybody that wasn't watching, and, you know, there were a lot of us that weren't watching because we were watching the Orioles game. The story was, going into last night, LSU was playing Arkansas. Arkansas needed to win in order to force a game today that would be winner goes to the finals of the College World Series. They needed to beat LSU twice. So their season was at stake. They went to the ninth inning, bottom of the ninth, with a 5-3 advantage. Runners on first and second, one out. I want it before you get to the play in the outfield. I just sent you the other one.
Okay. All right, good. That was the one I was having trouble finding.
First and second, one out. There's a ground ball hit to the shortstop. And for some reason, instead of going to second to first to try to turn the double play that would end the game, the throw is made to third base to get the lead runner and the lead runner only. You'll see the weird angle there. The reason why they're showing you the weird angle is because they want you to know exactly where the runner was between, like, the easy thing to say was, well, I don't know if he was going to be able to get the double play. When you look at it,
it's about as routine as
it looks like
double play ball
a double play that probably should have been turned. And even if you don't want to say should have, the argument would be, well, you're definitely getting the out at second base, and the runner at third base doesn't matter because you're up by 2.
Yeah.
So if there's even a chance of you getting the out at first base, you try to turn the double play, because what difference does it make whether the second runner is at third or at second, or the lead runner is at third or second? That run is irrelevant. So it seems like, and I apologize for not knowing the name of the Arkansas shortstop, had a bit of a meltdown, a brain fart. Even if you're right that you weren't going to get the double play. And I think most people would push back on that and say, we don't think you're right that you weren't going to get the double play. But even if you weren't.
Wahiwa Aloy is his name.
The play that appeared to be appropriate was to attempt to turn the double play because it would make no difference where the runner was. The more likely scenario seems to be you get the double play, the game's over, and you're getting ready to play tonight against LSU for the chance to punch your ticket to Saturday and the College World Series Finals. But hey, look, man, there's still 2 outs, bottom of the 9th inning. All you're going to need is 1 out. And good news. And I apologize again for not knowing who the LSU hitter was in this spot. The good news is you're going to get a fly ball that's going to give you the chance to end the game. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I say fly ball. It's more of a line drive.
Do you want the sound for this one, or you just want the...
Sure. You can go. This is how it sounded on ESPN. 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning. Chance for Arkansas to end the game, force another.
This ball is hooked to left field, and a bad read. It goes off of the left fielder's head, Davalon. Both runs are going to come in, and we are tied again. Oh, my goodness. He slipped, and it looked like it went right off of his body, and we are tied at 5.
Yeah, Charles Davalon's left fielder, and there was a lot of piling on Charles Davalon last night, and that's tough, right? Like, you saw a lot of images of him weeping in the dugout, and Dave Van Horn, the Arkansas coach, said he kept telling me he was sorry, and Dave Van Horn kept trying to say, hey, man, the game's not on you. That's not the way that it works. That is a bad read, man. That is a rough read, and you appreciate a guy that's trying to win a game and trying to make a play. Maybe the argument is if you don't have the read, if you don't know that you're going to make the catch, get in position to make sure that ball doesn't get past you so that the runner at first base doesn't score.
That's just it's the toughest because it's hit right at him.
Right.
Those are the toughest where it's like you step back and then you start stepping in. And
But whatever you do, the ball can't get past you, and obviously off of his head, the ball does get past him, and now you have a tie game, and I probably don't need to tell you that one batter later, the game was over. LSU gets a game winner. They're on to the College World Series final where they will face Coastal Carolina, who punched their ticket as well. So no, that's the bummer is there's no baseball this afternoon, nothing to watch. But yeah, wild turn of events in the 9th inning. Bet that feels really silly. Joe says, Glenn, this is also, to me, part of the reason why they should have hired a manager by now. That when there's somebody in charge who isn't really in charge, nobody really knows where to take cues from during the course of a game. I didn't agree when you first started talking about hiring a manager early, but ultimately you sold me on it, and last night is evidence of why it doesn't make sense to have a lame duck manager running the team. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm going to push back on some of that. Like, do I think that anything that you're looking for from last night, that could happen to a team with a manager. A Bruce Bochy team could blow an 8-0 lead. I'm going to push back on that. Did that happen because Tony Mansolino is the manager? I disagree.
Tony Mansolino said, all right, guys, let's
Yeah,
get them
right?
tomorrow
Like,
after the second inning.
Yeah. No. But do I think they should have a manager? Yeah, I mean, I do. That is my opinion. Like, I think they should have a manager. Now, as I say that, I also didn't think they were going to do it. I thought the earliest they would hire a manager is once they know they're out of it. And even then, the poking around I've done, everyone's expectation is it wouldn't be until the offseason they hire their manager. But it doesn't change my opinion. I've said it 1,000 times. I think they should hire a manager. I think they should have a manager in place. I think they should get on to the next phase of Orioles baseball. And the arguments that are made to the contrary, do you really want that manager to have to deal with the stench of this? Well, what stench are we talking about? Because until last night, like, you guys were talking about how this team could turn things around, and like, what? It feels like we're trying to solve for the wrong. We're solving for what we think they're going to do, not for what should they do. And we all know that we don't want lame duck coaches. We know that. Because the question is, how much impact can a lame duck coach, or in this case manager, have on players that are still developing? Is what they say that important, or do you say, well, you're not going to be here anyway? I'm not all that concerned. And I'm not suggesting that's what's going on or that like anybody's outright defying Tony Mansolino, but we all know that whenever the topic comes up, we all understand you don't want to have a lame duck coach. You don't want to have a lame duck manager. Until you do, and then I get, well, you can't hire a manager right now. Well, wait, but why? I'm not changing my opinion. I think they should hire a manager. But I don't think that's what happened. I think we're all kind of desperate. They lost a game in really embarrassing fashion. Like, really embarrassing fashion. But it's a game. It's one.
Would it be worse if they didn't play today?
I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know.
48 hours until
it really does feel like the heat is affecting them. Like, it really does feel like you pile all that on. And so, like, another hot, miserable day in Tampa.
Yeah.
And you're still sitting on that, like what that does to a team mentally. And, you know, there's always the question of, everybody always says you're only as good as your next day's starter. Well,
Charlie Morton struck out 10 and didn't allow a run last time out.
That is true. That is true. You're right. Last time we saw Charlie Morton, it was really good. But the snowball effect could be real. If there's good news, they get to face a moribund team this weekend. That is the good news.
Team that doesn't know how to score runs.
Just utterly crapping the bed. I mean, what is going on with them, man? What is happening?
Well, the Angels are really good. We know that.
That's a great point. I guess I didn't think about it that way. It might say more about the other team.
I think it's because Stanton's back, and you know the rest of the guys are like, oh, we can take the game. We can take this game off.
To their credit, they did score 2 last night, so they do have that going for them. The Yankees, they did score 2 runs, which is 2 more than they had scored in the 3 games before combined. What are they lost 6 straight?
Yes. I believe it's 6 straight.
I think it's 6 because the Nationals are 11, right?
Yeah, the Nats are at 11.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Imagine losing a series to that team.
Somebody would argue this is when you don't want to face the Yankees too,
I think
right?
so.
Like somebody would say you really hope that like they have an offensive breakout tonight.
They've lost 6 in a row.
So they get it out of their system before the Orioles come to town, but I don't know. They
play 1 o'clock, so we'll see.
It is a Thursday. You want to go ahead and do this?
Yeah.
It's Fighting Words with Griffin Bass.
Fighting Words brought to you today by Game Day Men's Health in Owings Mills. I've been taking peptides now for about a month, and I feel different. Again, the biggest area for me has been the way that I feel in the morning. Mentally, it still takes me a second to, greet the day. Like, I still have to go through that, fog. But the physical part of it, as I got into my 40s, where I woke up in the morning and I said, and I just made noises that were abominable, like as I was trying to move my body. I'm not feeling that. When I get up, I can just get up, go to the bathroom, do my crunches. It's really nice. I've also felt it when I've been playing tennis. I play Sunday night tennis every week, and I've got a little more life. I've got a little more chutzpah when I get on the tennis court.
Let out some Nadal screams and
No, maybe not that. Although I've said before, when I screw up, I am all over myself. Like when I'm playing at the net and
like Nick Kyrgios
bang it right in the net, I will yell out expletives. Then I'll look around.
Michael Scott, what is wrong with me today?
It's 100%. It's awful. But it's not awful is the way that I feel, and that's the important part. So Game Day Men's Health in Owings Mills, in Columbia, in Frederick, they've got you covered to help you as a man, whether you're starting to feel some of these things. Maybe I always say in your 40s, but maybe you're in your 30s, and I'm reminded constantly that like guys in their 20s sometimes deal with erectile dysfunction. That happens. If that's what you're dealing with, they've got you covered. If what you're dealing with is you're worried that you might be low T, then sign up for a complimentary testosterone test. If you're having trouble taking off stubborn belly fat, like the type of thing that you could do when you were in your 20s, that now you're in your 40s and you're like, dude, I'm working out. It's just not working off. They'll take care of you. Game Day Men's Health. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com in order to sign up for your complimentary testosterone test. You can call them. Game Day Men's Health in Columbia, 443-266-3505. You can call Game Day Men's Health in Frederick, 240-931-3717. Or the OGs from me, give Tony and the crew out at Game Day Men's Health in Owings Mills a call, 443-264-4454. What's going on?
Let's see. We had UFC Atlanta last week. Overall, it was kind of a boring card. There were a lot of decisions. The entire main card was all went to decisions. But Kamaru Usman showed that he still got some left.
So not retiring then?
No, not retiring. He thinks he can make one more shot at it. It's going to be tougher now since Islam Makhachev has moved up to 170. I'm not sure how many of the guys above him at this point he's going to be able to dominate with wrestling like he did with Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin Buckley very much a striker with not much of a ground game at all, and that was exactly how it played out on Saturday night. So, but Kamaru Usman did win a decision. Rose Namajunas got a decision over Miranda Maverick in the co-main event at women's 125. The good news was the prelims were pretty entertaining. Had several finishes during the prelims, and the featured prelim was Paul Craig, the Bear Jew. This fight ended in a no contest because Paul Craig illegally upkicked Rodolfo Bellato.
Oh my!
Yeah, and I mean that happens. But the reason this one was notable is because Bellato put on his best Oscar performance. He tried to sell it as him getting knocked out, and honestly, I bought it. I bought it when it initially happened, but then more UFC fighters were coming out saying this is clearly him. I just thought he was so rocked that he had no clue. So what happened was...
I see it now.
Okay, I'm going to try to play the video as we go over it here. But Rodolfo Bellato gets... so it's right at the end of round one as well. So Paul Craig's on his back. He kicks... You're not allowed to hit his knee. Bellato's knee was down, so you're not allowed to kick a guy in the head when they're considered down. So he gets hit. And they slowed the replay down a little bit more, and it looks like it didn't quite land flush. But the head's always weird. So if it lands close, so he gets hit. Initially throws his hands up, looks at the ref, like, hey, that's illegal. And then he's like, well, wait a minute, I'm actually knocked out. Right. And then as he comes to, he acts like he has no clue where he is. He starts pulling guard on the ref, even though the ref is been like no, we got to stop this. So I was like, oh my gosh, he's like seriously, he's like seriously out of it. This is crazy. But then actual fighters came out like Anthony Smith, Justin Gaethje were all like, okay, that was definitely fake. Like I trust them that they would know what a guy faking it looks like. So just kind of a weird circumstance. Had everybody very confused in the moment, and just seems like another Paul Craig fight where something bizarre is going to happen. Where he's either breaking somebody's arm, or maybe he gets beat into a bloody pulp. In this case, it was an illegal upkick. And that's why.
But it's only illegal if it makes contact with the head, right?
Well, so it was illegal. So basically, Bellotto was kind of right, where like, what was likely going through his mind was like, that was illegal. Then he's like, wait a minute, there's one round of the fight gone. If we call this, we can go to. Actually, I don't know if they can go to a technical decision at that point. Well, if he can't continue, then they could DQ Paul Craig, and it would count as a win for Bellotto. So it was kind of a way for him to get a cheap win. They'd only fought for 5 minutes to this point, so it was kind of like that's kind of messed up of you to, and Anthony Smith, the guy coming out against it.
This is the part
Anthony
that's
Smith famously
that I'm struggling
took an
with.
illegal knee.
Yeah, if
fighting.
it was an illegal upkick, then like there should be a penalty for that. Like,
correct, and this is why MMA rules and in the UFC there's no black and white with anything. So like the ref could have took away a point, but then also the way Bellotto was acting, there was no possible way you could let Bellotto continue, even if he was acting. So it was all just very, very weird, and just kind of a prelude to what the rest of that card would be, because the rest of that main card was pretty boring. After the prelims were very entertaining. Malcolm Wellmaker 10-0 at 135. He seems like he's for real. He knocked out Chris Matinho in 2 minutes. Pretty viciously, so that was a good fight. But I think the headliner, even though Kamaru Usman got a win in his comeback fight, the headliner was Rodolfo Bellotto trying to sell a
So what ended up happening? How did the
I ruled a no contest, so nothing.
What the? Sure.
This is MMA, man.
Okay, dog. You got it.
This week they are going to Baku, Azerbaijan.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, first time ever the UFC will be going to Azerbaijan. The prelims at 12, the main card at 3. The top 2 fights on this card are phenomenal. I think they're pay-per-view worthy. The co-main is Rafael Fiziev, Azerbaijan native.
Okay.
Taking on Ignacio Bahamondes at 155 at lightweight. That should be a very fun one. Both these guys at this point kind of right outside the title picture, especially with Islam Makhachev moving up to 170. I don't know if that'll be for good. We'll see what happens with Islam.
Okay.
But right now, 155 is technically vacant. They'll be fighting next week, Charles Oliveira and Ilia Topuria, but it does open up things a little bit more. Fiziev has actually lost 3 in a row, but 2 of those losses were against Justin Gaethje. Bahamondes has won 3 in a row, 3 straight first-round finishes, and it's a pick'em. So it should be a great fight. I lean towards Bahamondes just because he's younger. He's obviously shown more recently that he's capable of getting finishes. But again, Fiziev, his last 2 fights, or 2 of his last 3 fights have been against Justin Gaethje, and he's been hanging in right there with Justin Gaethje, who obviously is right there at the top of the 155 division. And the headliner is Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree at 205. 2 guys that are coming off fights where they lost to Alex Pereira. So that should be a banger. Both just 2 big, scary dudes, 205 light heavyweight. And hopefully, whoever wins will probably get a chance to call out Magomed Ankalaev. They may have to fight one more. They may have to get one more in there just because the rest of 205 is so kind of jumbled. I'm not sure what's going to be next for Magomed. So, but like if Khalil Roundtree comes in here and pops Jamal Hill once and he goes down, I mean that kind of makes it's hard to ignore him if he decides to make a strong call out towards Magomed. Same goes for Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill's technically coming off of 2 losses. Not technically, he is coming off of 2 losses. He got knocked out by Pereira and got knocked out by Yuri Prohaska.
Okay.
But these are 2 big guys. I think it should be a really fun fight. 2 great fights at the top. Unfortunately, the rest of the card, I can't really sell you on a whole lot. It's a lot of guys. This is the good news.
We're already spending too much time on it.
All right. Well, the good news is since they're in Azerbaijan, it's you're gonna have a live crowd.
This is a 3 o'clock.
Yeah,
and I believe it's on ABC.
I think so. That sounds right. It's either ESPN or ABC. And the good news is they have a lot of Eastern European and Western Asia, guys on the card. So I think it's going to be a very fun crowd. And hopefully somebody makes this a big chance for somebody to make a name for themselves if they can get some entertaining finishes. Tagir Ulanbekov on this card, I like him. Oban Elliott from Wales. Curtis Blades is on this card as well.
Oh, okay.
So a few somewhat big names, but guys that still have a lot of work in front of them. The PFL playoffs are tomorrow, so since continue tomorrow, so since there's nothing on TV tomorrow night, right? So PFL playoffs.
Well, the Orioles will be on TV.
Well, we don't want to watch them, do we?
I think we still want to watch. Yes.
Liz Carmouche will be fighting. Former UFC title challenger Kevin Lee will be headlining against some Russian guy. So that'll be the PFL.
You're losing me again.
His brother Keith Lee does TikToks. You know that.
Oh, that's Keith Lee's brother?
Yeah.
Not Keith Lee the wrestler, Keith Lee the restaurant reviewer.
Yes. Keith Lee was also fought MMA. He wasn't quite as good as Kevin.
I did know that. I
Yeah.
I had forgotten, but I did.
So Kevin's still going. He lost his UFC title shot against Tony Ferguson in an interim title fight. But so he's gonna have a chance here against the reigning PFL champ at 170. I already forget his name. It's some Russian guy, Mata Banov or something.
Sure.
Ends in OV.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you would ask me, of course, because I'm the host of Fighting Words.
Well, you're
that
the PFL guy.
sense. Yeah,
I do the UFC stuff.
right.
And also to you to set up for the
Everybody knows
PFL.
that, yeah.
Anything care to add about the PFL, Jake?
PFL?
PFL? You're not into the PFL?
The Professional Fighting League.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
No, I
Ray
didn't.
Lewis, part
There you go. All right, Dynamite tap in.
But I saw Chris Mutino get knocked out by a Georgia native, which felt really good.
Malcolm Wellmaker. That's correct.
Wellmaker.
Yes, Wellmaker.
The real
machine.
machine.
Well, I don't know about that.
All right. We've gone
So we're gonna have
entirely
machine
too
versus
far.
Boxing, not a whole lot. There was we had a card in Japan this morning. Brian Norman Jr. knocked out Jin Sasaki in the 5th round. That was on ESPN Plus. If anybody was up at 5 a.m. like I was, obviously.
Sure.
I saw right at the end because the knockout happened around like 7:45 this morning.
Is that it?
Pretty much.
Right.
There's an ESPN Plus card Saturday night in Newark so it is top rank, but there's no title fights.
Okay.
So that's Saturday night if you really need your boxing. The John Jones update. Dana has set a deadline for Jones Aspinall to happen.
Sure. I'm so sure.
He said he was on Jim Rome this week, of course.
Okay.
Dana White was.
Yeah.
If we can't get this fight done, we'll move on quickly. We'll have answers in the next couple of weeks about if John Jones will officially accept or not accept the Tom Aspinall fight. DC's doing his part to promote the fight like this. He said, he's come out and said John is quitting if he doesn't fight Tom Aspinall. So hopefully, anytime DC's good at riling up John Jones. So hopefully that helps, or not. We'll see.
All right.
The rematch for against Lamont Roach for Tank is set August 16th. They got into it over social media this week. Trying to sell it a little bit more. That's really all.
Okay.
Ben Askren is in a coma, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah, it's very, very sad. His wife shared an update earlier this week, but it looks like he needs a lung transplant. He's not doing great, unfortunately, and there's just not a whole lot of other information. But
that's awful.
Yeah, thoughts to Ben Askren and the Askren family. That it is sad. Dustin Poirier announced that he's gonna be walking out with Lil Wayne at his retirement fight next month.
All right.
He'll be fighting in his hometown of New Orleans. And Lil Wayne will be walking out with them, so that should be good. And Conor McGregor, he has won a fight for the first time in about 5 years. He was caught on camera in Ibiza knocking out some random dude at a nightclub.
There you go.
So
there you go. Good to see you, bud.
Probably could have guessed how that Conor McGregor story would end. There's your fighting.
There was a weird story yesterday where I can't believe about that. Do you remember how the Hulk Hogan scandal came about a few years ago?
This is the whole Terry.
Well, they ended up in court, right? And he sued Gawker.
Yes, yeah.
But because they posted a sex tape of Hulk Hogan, who was apparently illegally being recorded, or at least not knowingly being recorded, having sex.
So he was saying
with his friend's wife.
So he was saying that was Hulk Hogan, right? That was his.
No, I believe that was Terry.
Oh, that was
was
Terry?
having
Okay.
sex. I don't believe it was Hulk. I think that was Terry that was having. But I think we found out later in court that Terry doesn't have as big of a penis as Hulk Hogan does. I think that's what we learned. So
this was like a big. We learned about
you
this
can laugh
in
about
our
that,
sports,
but I
not sports,
believe that was an actual day in court. Was
Are
like he got grilled. I thought you said you had a, and then he was like, "Well, that was Hulk Hogan, not Terry." Terry had sex with his friend Bubba the Love Sponge's wife. Now, I know there's a lot going on in that sentence. What is a Bubba the Love Sponge? Bubba the Love Sponge was apparently a very popular radio morning show host in Tampa.
Okay.
Which is the perfect place for Hulk. I mean, no two things have ever gone together quite like Tampa and Hulk Hogan. So Bubba the Love Sponge hosted a morning show, and he and Hulk Hogan were very good friends. And apparently Hulk Hogan was going through some tough times in his life, and Bubba the Love Sponge said, I know how to get you out of that rut. Why don't you go have some intercourse with my wife?
What a friend.
Now, I got to tell you, I've got a lot of close friends. People that are very near and dear to my heart. And I've never thought that, but we don't have that type of relationship. Again, I don't judge the people that do. There are people that just have that type of relationship where, yes, we have sex with each other, but we also have sex with other people, and you, by all means, go have sex with my friend Terry.
What a nice
Bubba
guy.
the Love Sponge, I don't know what happened like after this, like if that ended their friendship. I mean, the idea that Bubba the Love Sponge was secretly recording him doesn't seem great, but I don't know. Who knows how it went. And Hulk Hogan won a lot of money from Gawker in that lawsuit, so I have no idea where they stand. But Bubba the Love Sponge goes on his show, and I don't know if he's still on the radio or if he's doing the goofy thing that we're doing here. I don't know. But he goes on yesterday and basically says...
the official thing that we're doing here?
Yeah, whatever this is. Hulk Hogan's on his deathbed.
Okay.
Like, puts that out on his show.
So they're not friends any longer.
But I don't know. I don't know the status of their relationship. I don't know. That's the problem. They might still be very... Clearly, they were very close friends.
Right, yeah.
Maybe they still are. I don't know. Bubba the Love Sponge said Hulk Hogan is in the hospital and...
Should we call the phone number in his Twitter bio?
Maybe not. And might not make it, is what he says. Now, Hulk Hogan, for all of his faults, and there are many, many faults, he's also still Hulk Hogan. He's still a very prominent figure. And so Hulk Hogan, perhaps being on his deathbed, suddenly becomes a bit of a news story.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out, Hulk Hogan's just in the hospital, like,
he's got neck and that's what this says.
Dealing with some back and neck issues.
He could probably go to Game Day Men's Health and they can.
Yeah, he's very much not on his deathbed. So if they were friends, perhaps not as good of friends anymore. Old Bubba. It's like, the Hulkster's not going to make it. He's going to die. It could be any moment now. The Hulk Hogan's like, I got a sore neck. Like, what the hell are you
It's just a sore neck, brother.
Thank you. That's not a bad Hulk Hogan. Not bad. Not a bad Hulkster. So there was that story from yesterday. We come back in. We will get a tidbit. We will get Tubular to wind things down. Today's show also brought to you by the Maryland 5-Star. Tickets on sale now for the 2025 Maryland 5-Star. Go to maryland5star.us. That's with the number 5 to get your tickets. It is one of the best events of the calendar year. In October, Fair Hill up in Cecil County. Not just the Triple Crown of Equestrian, which in and of itself is amazing, but also the Food and Wine Festival, the Corgi Cup, great shopping as well. Just an amazing weekend at Fair Hill. Again, Maryland 5-Star with the number 5, maryland5star.us. It's Glenn Clark Radio. This August, the PGA Tour's best are coming to Maryland. The 2025 BMW Championship tees off August 12th through 17th at Caves Valley Golf Club in Owings Mills. See the top 50 players battle it out in the penultimate event of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Don't miss your chance to witness world-class golf, fan experiences, and unforgettable moments. Tickets are on sale now at bmwchampionship.com. The BMW Championship, where legends take the lead.
Celebrate 60 years of America's favorite muscle car at Live Casino and win a new Ford Mustang. Earn entries daily and enjoy revved-up specials across our restaurants and bars all June. Cruise in Saturday, June 28th, and be one of 25 players to win cool trips, hot prizes, or a new Ford Mustang. Hit the gas at Live Casino at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an easy pass from driveeasymd.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at driveeasymd.com.
What makes the Costas Inn so special? This is Stan the Fan telling you that it's the people that work for you, cooking and serving. But that menu is also special with a capital S. Soups, salads, the raw bar, pasta dishes, seafood specialties, and entrees like the Costas combos, steaks, chops, ribs, amazingly delicious meatloaf, and all manner of delicious filling sandwiches including pit beef and turkey and subs. Of course, the steamed crabs are as good as you can get anywhere, and they serve them 12 months a year. The crab cakes are out of this world. Costas is open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at 4100 North Point Boulevard, and coming soon, very soon, Costas in Timonium at the OTB Parlor at Timonium Racecourse. We'll get you the opening date real soon.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? The Baltimore Golf Academy has fun, instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. Enroll today at baltimoregolfacademy.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, winding down, former Ravens linebacker C.J. Mosley announced his retirement from the NFL today. Of course, kind of a polarizing figure. C.J. Mosley, his time in Baltimore, measured as much by his successes. He was a 4-time All-Pro as a Raven. As it was by what he wasn't. And what he wasn't Ray Lewis incarnate. And when the Ravens used a number 17 overall pick on an inside linebacker, the hope was that he was going to be Ray Lewis incarnate. Now, to be fair, we're already seeing sort of the same thing with, like, Roquan Smith looked like that for 2 years and then got a big contract and wasn't quite as great a year ago. And you see the sort of same, like, it wasn't worth the contract. C.J. Mosley, and I would tell you that, like, my issue with C.J. Mosley is he just wasn't very good against the pass. Like, in coverage specifically, he had some issues. I don't know what his story was in New York. I didn't watch enough of C.J. Mosley individually to be able to speak to it. But I'm probably as guilty as anyone of.
I know he battled a lot of injuries
in New York.
Yeah.
I know he did still have an All-Pro season with the Jets. But like I'm probably as guilty as anyone of focusing on what he wasn't more than what he was. He was a solid football player that I'd have to go back and look at what the other options were in the 2014. I haven't revisited the 2014 NFL draft to remember what it was that I was hoping the Ravens would do with that pick. The picks after him, Calvin Pryor, Jawan James, decent player. Brandon Cooks, Clinton Dix, Johnny Manziel, D. Ford. Looking back on that draft, it's very favorable to C.J. Mosley. Like the picks after him, not a lot of special there. Zach Martin was the pick right before him. That would have been nice. That was right. Like the top of that draft, it was a weird draft. Jadeveon Clowney, number 1 overall, has obviously been a very good player. Certainly not a Hall of Famer, but Greg Robinson was the number 2 pick. Blake Bortles was the number 3 pick. Sammy Watkins was the number 4
AFC
pick.
Championship appearance.
Khalil Mack, who had like an amazing start to his career, was the number 5 pick. Jake Matthews. Then you get Mike Evans at 7. right? Like you got a Hall of Famer. Justin Gilbert, Anthony Barr,
Well, that was the Browns. So
Eric Ebron.
Obviously, that pick wasn't going to work.
Taylor Lewan at 11, and then 12 was Odell Beckham, 13 Aaron Donald. So the two best picks of that draft were the 7th and the 13th picks in that 2014 NFL draft. But C.J. Mosley announces his retirement from the NFL after over a decade in the league. Very nice career for C.J. Mosley. Let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you today by, I guess we did everybody, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
So who do you want to bonus something to? You want to say Tidbit? Yeah, I tell you who Tidbit is brought to you by. Tidbit is brought to you by the Trivia Playoffs this Saturday. Team's a little thin. Little thin. And if we're going to punch our ticket to the World Series, we could use a little help. Now, I'm definitely not saying that we'll take somebody who isn't on the team.
What am I doing Saturday?
Yeah, it's a Trivia Playoff Saturday at noon. You never know. This might be the time that there's a question. What would be your area of expertise that you could bring to the table?
Current baseball stats.
Right, but I got that.
No, you almost didn't.
No, I definitely. Well,
harder.
Somebody almost talked me out of it. Yeah, but I got it. I went 4 for 4. Like what?
I don't know.
Now, what would be another area?
Who's the best team in baseball?
Because we don't need a sports guy. What would be another area that you could bring to the table?
Well, not the Bible guy, obviously.
Right, I've got that on lockdown. Music.
I don't think I'm the politics
Our
guy.
movie guy will be there. The problem is we need general knowledge. Although one of our general knowledge
Plenty
guys,
of general knowledge.
one of our general
Rules
knowledge
of the
guys is
road, I
going to
know
be there.
those.
Do you?
Yeah.
So if somebody says, "What's the red, eight-sided sign?" You'd be like,
with white writing.
I know that's no U-turn. Like I got this.
That's yield.
What's an area that we'd be surprised that you know more about?
UFC.
Right, stop. What's an area that you have some amount of expertise?
I don't know. I guess nothing.
Oh boy. We'd still take you because we're thin on Saturday. We're thin.
Who's missing?
John Proctor.
Star Wars. I got Star Wars knowledge. That's not surprising.
I think our movie guy can handle that. John Proctor. It's a real disappointment from him. I had
John Kerry's.
What's that?
John Kerry's.
John Kerry?
He carries the team.
No, he doesn't care. But he's like, when there's like a science question, and I'm just like, well, I don't know.
I like to think I have a solid understanding of geography, but I couldn't come up with Vietnam the other day.
Yeah,
so
that was tough. You do know where New England is, though,
That's
so you've
true.
got that going,
Yeah.
which is a little bit different.
I mean, it's tough.
Than
It's a
some
tough area.
people.
It's a tough region.
Not anybody that I'm talking about specifically. Just there might be, believe it or not,
could
there
be
might,
over here,
right?
could be
Or it
over
could be
here,
over there.
maybe
it could
down.
be- yeah.
Other side of the
Well,
Atlantic,
we
maybe?
could use you. We could use you on Saturday, and you are on the team. So like,
I'm on the roster, so it's not like you have to.
We wouldn't be cheating if we did that. We'd probably be willing to cheat.
What would happen if we got caught? Like if I wasn't on the roster?
We get. I think we get a stern talking.
Like if
to.
intern Jake was on the.
I think we get a stern talking to. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. But we could use a little help for the playoffs on Saturday. If anybody doesn't have plans and you know things about things, we could use